I think that for the most part, people that say, yeah, I already know what to do. I think the missing component's accountability because people know like, hey, I know that I should be spending more time with my kids and family and, what's really important. You know that, but yet you're scrolling social media when you're on the couch. You know you should be eating healthy and moving your body because if not, you don't move it, you're going to lose it, right? You know this, but you don't. So what is your missing ingredient? Welcome to the Push Podcast. Why push? Because a nudge is just too friendly.
And friend, we're here to help you get your shit together. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Janelle.
And we're the Copelands.
We've got 3 daughters, 2 businesses, a mortgage, and lots of responsibilities. So just like you, we're struggling to find that perfect balance of ambitious go-getter hustle while still staying present, loving our kids, and working on our relationship.
And doing the laundry, going to the grocery store. Oh, and don't forget being mindful.
All of the stuff. So if you're juggling all the things, but you're also trying to get to the next level, guess what? You're in the right place. So get ready to be pushed. Hey guys, welcome back to the Push Podcast.
How's it going? You didn't say your name.
I'm Janelle.
Zeddy, how's it going?
All right. So today we're going to talk to you about something that keeps coming up in our life with people we coach, our personal lives with us, just commitments and goals that we're trying to make. So we're going to be talking to you about why we know everything, but we actually don't do it.
Yeah, it's like that knowing gap.
Right.
Right.
So you asked me a question earlier. We were getting ready. We had worked out. We took a shower, not together, but we took a shower. We were making your bed. Not today. And you asked me a question. You said, I heard someone talking about routine versus commitment.
Yeah. And, I was explaining that I thought the guy who was explaining it was struggling with it, but it really struck a chord with me because I think that when you think about having a commitment to something, whether it be your fitness routine or a business or whatever it is, commitment is a strong word. But however, you got to have a good routine.
So you asked me, like, without giving me any context, like, what is routine versus commitment? Like, which one's more important? What do you think of when you think of that? And I had a whole TED talk for you. And so I think routine comes down to it's a carryover of the commitments that you say that you have to your goals, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm committed to losing 30 pounds. But then my routine, it's not in alignment with the commitment. I'm just doomed.
Right.
I'm going to fail.
Right. And I also think just even how you just described that, it's almost like not necessarily being commitment to the result, but you have to be committed to the routine that's going to get you the result. Right?
And I think that's where people go astray from hitting their goals is like you like the idea of the end result. So you're committed to that dream body or the money or the wealth or the relationship. You like the end game of marriage, the end game, right? But you have to be committed to the routine.
Yeah. And I think that's where it kind of sparked this conversation about knowing versus doing.
Well, so it came from the fact that like, I like the idea of being fit. For me personally, we've been bodybuilders. I've been in the best shape of my life. Right now is not that time. And I'm not beating myself up about that because I have a lot of other competing priorities. It's a pandemic still. Everything's just still so uncertain. But honestly, it's been a year that I've given myself grace. And at this point, I just need to say, well, no, let's just really get real with your commitments. Like, what is it that you want? When I think of 80-year-old Janelle, which, by the way, we mentioned in two episodes ago, I think it was episode 71. And I talk a lot about 80-year-old Janelle. Like, I have to be responsible for her. She's under my care. And every decision that I make around routine, around commitment, around money, around anything, my health in particular, she might not be around, right?
Yeah.
It's going to determine, like, is she living in a crappy retirement home? Is she living in her dream beach home? And people that pass by her home are like, wow, I wonder what she did for a living. I wonder what kind of impact she had on the world. And I want to sit there at 80 and share all that with people that pass by my beach house, right? So I can't do these things unless I'm committed to the routine that 43 or 42-year-old Janelle right now needs to be committed to in order to give her that big, life that I have envisioned for her.
Yeah. And I think that the tough thing for most people is that they have this false sense of how to get there, right? And so we just talked about the fact that you get committed to the outcome, but you're not committed to the routine. But a lot of times when we talk to people and we share things, they go, yeah, I know. My brother does this a lot, right? Like when we
love you, Marcus, but Jesus.
Anytime I'm giving him, we talk to him about his life, money,
and
all
he's
these things.
Excited. He's like, I know.
And every point you make with him, he's like, I know. Yep, I know. Yep, I know. And oftentimes I go, stop saying you know,
right?
Because you don't know. And I think what happens is that, like, even now, I'm 40 years old and I'm not in the shape I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a false sense of confidence that I can quickly get there because of the fact that I know what to do.
Right.
I know how to exercise. I know how to eat. But the reality is I've never done what I'm trying to do at 40. So I really don't know.
Right.
And so I think what ends up happening is that you have these goals, you have these things you want to do. And in your mind, you can see it. So you go, oh, I know how to get there. I know how to do this. But you've never done it under the circumstances that you're under now, right? You've never done it in a pandemic. You've never done it
at this age.
With
these responsibilities.
At this point in your life. And so I think where there's a knowing gap between action and accomplishment is that. It's that fact that you think you know because you've done something similar to that under different circumstances at a different age and a different time in your life.
I'm going to challenge that even further because I'm going to say the reason why we're talking about this is because in the last few weeks, I cannot tell you how many people I've given advice and they're like, I know. Yeah, you're right. I know that. These are things I know. And I'm like, bitch, that doesn't matter. Do it. It literally and I'm not saying it to be mean because I say it to myself. Right. So I met this woman. She connected with me on Instagram. Her name is Joni Davis. She's a fitness professional. She's got a degree in kinesiology, super educated. She's my age. So she's 42. She's been in fitness for over 25 years, has owned gyms. And she's just going through this like pivot. And so apparently she's been watching my story for a really long time, saw me pivot in the business, has watched the business grow. And so she reached out really vulnerable and said, I'm questioning like what it is that I want to do to move forward. And, I've built this big audience. She has over 16,000 followers. And she's just like, I just don't know if they're going to be down with where I'm trying to go. So it's this really great conversation. And I said, I'll tell you what, I need to get back in shape. And she's like, well, I know you know what to do, but, people don't hire me because, they need help losing weight. They hire me because they need accountability and because they like me. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll coach you for business because you really don't need me. You think you know everything, but I need to give you permission and hold you accountable to the things that you think you know.
Right.
So we created in 5 minutes this accountability for each other where she's going to hold me accountable to my commitments and I'm going to push her along with her commitments. Right. So how this is working is everything that we said, we know. Look, we need to act like we don't.
Right.
So, but she said to me, and this wasn't a downfall, but she said, you know what to eat. I've said, you know what? You're right. I do. I know what to eat. I know what time of the day I work out best. I know what exercises, my body responds to the best. But I'll tell you what, it hasn't been a priority for me. It hasn't been something that I've been really committed to. But the reason why I'm ready to do it now is because I want to develop the discipline that people who are fit have, because I know that discipline will bleed into other areas of my business, into my relationships. So I'm not really interested in a fitness transformation. I'm interested in the discipline, the development of discipline that I will be committed to while we're working together. I need you to hold me accountable.
Yeah.
So I don't need really a diet plan. I don't really need you to tell me what to do. But I do. So I told her, it doesn't matter what I know. I want you to tell me specifically what to do because I want the accountability.
Yeah.
And so she said the same thing. I said, so what do you need help with in your business? Right. And she's like, well, I want to do this. I said, okay, stop. How do we keep it easy, simple, and fun? Why are you staying away from this stuff? And she said, well, because it just seems like a lot. Okay. So that's fear. That's this false sense of all the things you have to do. And she's not a lazy person. She's a competitive athlete, right? But the thing is you need somebody to hold your hand and to hold you accountable and to tell you, stop making excuses. You know what to do. Now let's just work on action.
But I also think that it comes down to challenging what you think you know, because I think what you did is you said, yeah, I had a recipe that I've used before, eating those certain foods. I had a recipe that I used before, working out a certain way. But what I need is someone to hold me accountable to challenge if that assumption is correct now. And I think that why this is so important, why are we talking about this, is because you're hearing this episode, it's going to be February, right? And the new year is on its way.
Right.
And you've had, aspirations.
The new year is on its way?
It's already in effect.
Okay.
It's moving along.
Confused.
Yeah. It's just a way of saying
Got it. Okay.
And what ends up happening is that the trouble is that we get into this place where most people right now are procrastinating. They are putting off what they said they were going to do. And a lot of it is because they're saying to themselves, I know what I need to do. I know what I need to do. But they're not willing to challenge if that's correct. And so that's why one of the things we talked about was the best way to approach any type of goal or aspiration is with an abundance of curiosity to challenge what you think you know. Because I think it's good to have a understanding of a strategy that you're going to go after, but you don't know if it's going to work until you challenge it, until you put it to work. And so I think that that's what your conversation to me sounds like. It's like, okay, she's going to give you some accountability. She's going to give you some encouragement, but she's also going to give you a strategy and challenge like, hey, was this working for you? Like you said, I know the perfect time to work out for me. Is it true?
Right.
Is that going to give you the best results? Right. You don't know until you actually implement it.
So I think this is one of the great things about our relationship and the Push podcast is that we're saying completely different things. Like we're talking about the topic. We have very great insight, but we're speaking from our experiences and like where we're at right now. Right. And so I just want to clarify that because what you're saying is, and it's a really valid, great point. You're saying, I know how to get in shape. I know how to do all this stuff. I know how to do this. But you're saying, but I've never done it right now at this age, in this situation, with these current problems, with this mindset.
Right.
And I think that you are 1,000% right. And so people need to stop and kind of ask themselves, like, what is it you claim you know? Because if you took a business course when you first started your business and now here you are 5 years later, there are different circumstances. We're in a pandemic. Everybody should be reevaluating how they're doing business regardless of what business you're in.
Right.
I don't care what business you're in, right? So marketing techniques or tactics that you knew those, you applied them, they got you to where you are. But now you need to relearn those marketing tactics, tweak the plan, and figure out based on this new current situation, this new environment that we're in, how can I tweak the plan? And I think you're spot on with that, right? So my perspective is, I think the missing ingredient to commitments, goals, routines is accountability. We spend so much time as a child being told what to do, right?
Yeah.
And, and then we spend so much time when we hit adolescence, when we're teenagers, trying to get away from being told what to do. You cannot wait when you're 18 years old to get out of your parents' house so that way they can stop telling you what time to go to bed, what time to be home, who to date, what you should do with your friends, all of the things, right? Don't eat the sugar. You need to work out. Like we are on our kids all the time. You know why? Because you're not going to do this shit on your own, right? So an example is we sent Jasmine off to college. It's great. We thought, I hope that we rode her ass long enough and hard enough so that she has learned how to develop a sense of, personal accountability and structure and routine so she can continue because no one else is going to be on her. You guys, this is why people gain freshman 15.
Well, yeah.
Luckily, Jasmine did not. But the point I'm trying to make is then you get into adulthood. Then you take on new challenges, whether it be at work, whether you start a business, and then a couple of years, I'd say around your 30s, you stop, you look around and you go, shit, I haven't been working out. I haven't been eating really well. I've had some financial struggles, then you start to say really stupid shit like I can't get a break. And the reality is it comes back to a lack of accountability. No one else is telling your ass, what are you doing? Why would you buy that? Don't buy that. That's stupid.
Well, and
don't eat that.
The crazy
That's
thing
stupid.
is that we're in this environment where many people may hear that and go, I don't think I need accountability.
You
I just
do.
need, and I just need to I need to do it. I know I need to. But here's the thing. And I'm one of those people. Like, I'm one of those people that said, I have the intrinsic motivation to do it.
You also don't like accountability.
No, it's not that I don't like accountability. It's a lot of times positioning myself so that someone can hold me accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is publicly declaring things that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's, hiring someone. It's getting someone to support you. So like when we were going through our fitness journey, like one of the things that was happening that I didn't necessarily say consciously, this person holds me accountable, but we had to pose every week,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we had joined this gym, we were working out, and every single week, at the end of the week, you had to pose. And then the coach assessed where you were.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look back in retrospect, I look back and go, oh, wow, I was like really training hard and making sure I was on top of my diet because I wanted to make sure that my coach saw progress.
Right.
And that's a sense of
Not
accountability. And we're social creatures as human beings,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so although we think we can do these things in isolation, the reality is that we are influenced, we are impressionable to what other people think. It's making sure we assign the right person for that task, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times we think about everybody's thoughts and we think about what people are going to think about us that don't really matter instead of the people that we say, hey, this person's opinion, this person's judgment is something I trust. Like you just saying, hey, the person you were talking about, what's her name? Joni, you said, okay, based on our conversation, I trust you. I'm going to come to you for the accountability that I'm looking for, whatever that looks like, right? And I think that is so important. So if you're sitting back and going, well, I don't have anyone to hold me accountable, I don't have anyone to trust, you got to find someone.
I agree with you, but then I don't because I think people are like, oh, they're right. I need a gym buddy. And gym buddies don't work.
But that's what I'm saying. You got to find the right person.
I think you need a professional. So let me give you an example.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
I said, I'm going to work with you and I'm going to teach you these things and I'm going to hold you accountable with your business. You're going to work with me. You're going to hold me accountable to my commitments. But because we know,
mm-hmm.
we made the declaration. We made the commitment. Like I told her, here's the routine that I'm going to commit to. It's what I already know. And she said, if you do that, you already know the results, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just a matter of it's accountability
right.
and maintaining the routines that I need to stay committed to the goals that I'm declaring, that I'm saying that I want, right? I'll just tell you, I already feel better. Like the moment she said, okay, I'm going to check in with you on Friday, I was like, all right, we're cleaning up our diet. This morning I woke up, I ordered a bunch of food because one of the things you have to ask yourself when you are not achieving goals is you have to ask yourself, like, what's holding me back? Like, what's getting in the way? And for me, what's getting in the way is, uncertainty with my time. Things come up. I have a lot on my plate right now. So if I know that those are going to be roadblocks, then I need to figure out how to overcome those hurdles before I even get in the race, right?
Yeah, so what you're saying is that a lot of times what holds people back is that they're not set up for success.
Well, you're not foreseeing the things that could hold you back or prevent you from staying committed to the routines that you need to achieve the goal, right? So I already know that part of eating healthy, one of the worst things for me is sitting there and meal prepping and thinking of all the boring food and, so I ordered food today from a healthy meal prep company and I ordered some stuff like outside of my comfort zone. I bought some new spices. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. And here's
so I have to switch it up I guess what I'm saying is I'm taking a combination of your suggestion, which is you already know, right? Act like you don't. But also I'm using mine, which is I need the accountability and I need to foresee what problems are going to hinder me from achieving this and staying committed to this. So I need to be proactive about that.
Yeah. And one of the things I'll tell you, the reason why I say that you have to pretend like you don't know and you have to be curious is because when you approach certain things like as if you know, and then you are certain about them, when they become ineffective, when the strategy is not working, you're so committed to what you think you know that what ends up happening is that you don't get results and you fail simply because you weren't able to adapt and you weren't able to modify because of the fact that this certainty that you think you had.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I remember being in the fitness and people were like, oh, I know what to do. I know what to do. This is when I'm supposed to eat this. And they had these grand ideas that they thought like, this is how you do it. but they weren't getting any results.
Right.
And it wasn't because they weren't putting into action what they thought they knew. It was a bad plan.
Right.
Right. And so a lot of times you have to say like, hey, we order food, we do all these things, we exercise, and then you are not measuring your success. And what you have to say is, I need to challenge what I know. And I need to say, oh, shoot, what I thought I know is not effective.
Right.
Right. And I need to modify and change. And so it's better to go out and say, I think I have an idea what to do, but I'm willing to change depending on the results I'm getting.
And I think that what you're posing is really great suggestion. You know, Eddie's basically saying stop being a damn know-it-all and approach things with curiosity.
Right.
And I think that that's a really great strategy. So that could be strategy number one. I think that for the most part, people that say, yeah, I already know what to do. I think the missing component's accountability because people know like, hey, I know that I should be spending more time with my kids and family and, you know, what's really important. You know that, but yet you're scrolling social media when you're on the couch. You know you should be eating healthy and moving your body because if not, you don't move it, you're going to lose it, right? You know this, but you don't. So what is your missing ingredient? Is it you think you know everything, but you really don't? And you need to be curious? Because to me, if Pinterest, ever since the day Pinterest was like brought to the world, you should know how to eat healthy.
Right.
All you have to do is go on Pinterest. And, there's 3 million recipes to print.
Right. And we're not promoting being indecisive and not deciding. Like you have to have an idea of where you need to go and choose it and go in that direction. And I think what Janelle is saying is absolutely right. And then have a sense of where's my accountability going to come from? Right. And I'm going to hire someone to help me. I'm going to, get someone I know that has proven results to hold me accountable and the challenge what I think I understand about this journey I'm going on. But I think that those things are so super important.
So then the big question becomes, how do we go from knowing to doing, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think, one of the things I just pull up a really cool quote, and I think it may align a little bit to what you're saying is, it says, real knowledge is to know the extent of one's own ignorance. Confucius. And so knowing is only important when you know when your knowing ends. If that makes any sense, right? So I should know there's an element that I don't know.
Wait, you just said when your knowing ends. And what I think, because again, I'm a visual person, I feel like there's like a timeline, right? And it's like, 1990, knowing, right? And it goes all the way through all the things that you knew. And then it gets to 2021 and it's blank. It just stops. You don't know. Your timeline stops, right? And so anyways, through lots of research, because I Googled and searched and listened to lots of TED Talks about why humans, stay stuck in the knowing, you're a know-it-all versus the doing. And the number one reason they say that people don't move forward with their commitments, their new habits, their routines, their goals, whatever, even though you should be doing it, is fear.
Wow.
So, it could be fear of failing, fear of humiliation, fear of letting yourself down, fear of being a loser, fear of what it might mean about you and what kind of person you are.
And that's interesting because that is probably what people don't know. Like that's the unconscious thing, the barrier they can't get past is they know all of the strategies of how they're going to do something, but what they don't know is what's stopping them.
Right. Okay. So here's another fun fact for you. And I found this extremely interesting and we can chat about this. So outside of the normal fear of like physical health and like dangerous situations where, you could lose your life, there are 3 fears that we fear most. Want to know what they are?
Let's go.
Okay. So the first one is a loss, some sort of pain of a loss. So, what could you lose? What are you going to lose if you stay committed to this?
Right.
Like, that you should be on a diet,
but lose comfort.
You're going to lose comfort. You're going to lose the ability to hang out and socialize with your friends or your family. Yeah. So some people don't recognize that as fear, but you are fearing, you're fearful of losing something.
Yeah. Fear of loss, I think, is a real thing for people, even though they don't express it all the time. Even when you're interacting with someone and they're at the precipice of making a change, but they don't want to lose their circle of friends. They don't want to lose certain things. And so that really stops them.
Well, I will just say, like, honestly, I didn't think about it, but that was probably my fear of like why I didn't want to be committed to a diet in 2020. Like, we were home with the kids. I was enjoying having popcorn with them at night when we were watching movies. And I didn't want to be like, oh, boring mom's on a diet. And so I was fearful of losing out on those times with my kids, right? Good or bad, I guess it was a fear of loss.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think when you really look at it, you still probably could have enjoyed the time with them while you were eating an apple.
I don't know about that, but
been crunchy.
Okay. The second one is the fear of the pain through the process.
Okay.
So I find this most often when we're coaching our students. It's like, you say you want to start a business, you take all the courses, you learn all the things, I tell you exactly what to do. And then a month from now, I see you in some other Facebook group saying, hey, how do I grow my business? I'm really struggling. You know all the things. You took the course, you have a basic understanding of the fact that right now you just need to move your ass and take action.
Right. And to add to that statement, people will ask a question and say, and don't tell me something I already know. Right? Because it's just that. It's like, I know what I want and I know what I need to do, but I'm still looking for that silver bullet.
Right.
I'm still looking for the hack.
Out,
yeah,
right? The hack for sure.
100%.
The magic pill, right? So the fear of pain, the pain through the process. And I'll just tell you, like we're recently on Clubhouse. If you guys are not on Clubhouse, this is a quick shout out to Clubhouse. It's freaking fantastic. Like for maybe a month and a half, people have been telling us to get on Clubhouse. And I'm like, please, I don't need one more freaking app. I view it like TikTok. Like it's just one more freaking thing to, get on my nerves and make me feel like I got to show up for. So I said no. Clubhouse, I'll just tell you, is like listening to live TED Talks all day long. And it's addictive because there's people on there that are really great speakers that you would normally not be able to connect with, right? So it's a huge platform for networking. Anyways, last night, Eddie and I did our first Clubhouse. We hosted a Clubhouse room and we talked about, what did we talk about? Things you can do to increase your business, to get more customers, right? And the thing is after the Clubhouse, I said, message me with any questions you have. I got 20 messages.
Really?
20 messages. And they were like, hey, thank you so much for your knowledge. Such great points. I'm thinking about this, but this is this and blah, 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 blah. What do you think I should do? You know what I said back to every single one of them? Well, what do you think you should do?
Right.
And then they answered their question, right? So you said people ask questions, but they want the silver bullet.
Right.
And I'll just say, this is the topic of this. You ask questions you already know the answer to. Now you just need to move your ass. Okay. So every one of those that I responded back and I said, well, what do you think you need to do? Based on your knowledge of your business and what's going on in the world or in your city right now, what do you think you need to do? I just asked them that simple question. They gave me this long response. Well, good question. If I had to really force myself to do something, then this is what I would choose. So then you know what I responded back? Great. Get your ass moving.
Right.
So I think, after all of these conversations, every single one of them was like, you're right. I just need to take action. And so it just brings me to the fact that this is why we're talking about this today, is that we all know what to do for the most part, right?
Right.
You know that, there are a million things that you can do to improve your business and life right now. There's a million things you can do to improve your relationship with your spouse or to further advance your career or to be nice to your neighbors, to start relationships, a million things, right? But we just choose to not do those things.
Right.
And I don't think it makes us lazy losers. I don't think it makes us stupid because we're asking stupid questions. I appreciate those questions, but I am here to help us, you and I, and the listeners that are listening to the Push podcast. We have to be people of action.
But the thing is, I truly believe that there is an addiction to inaction. I think that most people have the ability to do whatever they want. However, only a few actually act on it. And it's usually not the most talented of the bunch. It's the one that's willing to put it in work. It's the one that's willing to be vulnerable and show humility and ask questions and do things that only a student would do, because I think students are always in action, right? And so I think that to me is a huge part. And if we were to leave anything, if I were to say, hey, the biggest thing to change to fix your knowing gap, and I call it a knowing gap because there's a gap between what you know and what you actually do. And I think the gap of it is that you just have to be the student. You have to be the person that you want to be, but you have to do it in a way where you're curious and you go after it and forget what you know, but also understand that there is a huge gap of what you don't know, even from a strategic standpoint.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, back to the 3 fears outside of the physical fears of dangerous and scary things, right? So first we had the loss pain fear, right? Then we had fear of the pain of the process, fear, right? And now we have fear of the outcome pain.
And so I think that's the most confusing for people.
So outcome pain is, what if I do all this work and it wasn't worth it?
Yeah.
What if I do all this work and I'm still not happy? What if I commit to this diet and it doesn't work and I don't lose the weight and I don't catch the husband and I don't? So that's a huge one, I think. Like we all, you hear people say like, I'm fearful of success and I didn't know it. Well, this is kind of in that realm. It's like you're fearful of the outcome, good or bad. Because think about it, like, we say, hey, we want to do $1 million in revenue. That's great. It's not going to make me a better person. It'd probably just make me work a whole hell of a lot. And then I'll be stuck in the fear of loss of time, right? And so like the outcome isn't what changes you, it's the journey.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting about that fear of an outcome, it's really about like, if I achieve this thing, what will change around me that I can't handle? Mm-hmm. What will be in store? Because think about it, if one of the fears is the fear of like the process and the pain, and let's just say you take on this huge, because we know with success comes more responsibility, comes more ownership of the different things that are going to come your way. But I think people can forecast that. They can see that if I achieve this, I'm going to have a lot on my plate. And that is scary, especially when you already have a fear of the process itself. Just imagine when that process and that pain gets bigger because of the responsibility and everything that comes along with success.
So I want you to think to yourself, how many times do you say, well, I know what to do, I just need to do it? Let this episode serve as that friendly push, that friendly nudge for you to stop making excuses and get really crystal clear on, why do you need to finally take action? Why do you need to stop talking about what you know and actually do it, right? And the number one thing I can tell you is I need accountability. Like I know what to do. I mean, I'm teaching, I'm a mentor, but everybody teaches stuff that they're still in practice of, right?
100%.
And so for me, back to the whole diet thing, I'm trying to get better at productivity because there's so many things in our business to juggle. Like the podcast is one of those things. I'm trying to create more space so we have more time to brainstorm about how to grow the podcast, what guests to have on, right? And so in order to be more productive, I need more energy. In order to have more energy, I need to focus on my health. And in order to focus on my health, I need to make it a priority and schedule it and eat healthy and work out, which seems like it takes more time. So if you're lacking time, how do you do that if it takes more time? Well, for me, the answer is I have to outsource some of this stuff, right? So if I know that I'm already struggling for time, but I know that I need healthy meals, today I had to kind of just say, I'm going to order some meals. I didn't ask anybody. I just ordered a bunch of stuff and we're super excited because we didn't have to cook that, right? Groceries, we no longer, we do sometimes, but we get our groceries delivered because I just don't have time to go get the stuff, right? I hired a trainer. I'm working with Joni so that she can say, hey, what happened this week? You committed to working out 6 times this week. You said you were going to move your body for 30 days, not because you wanted to lose weight, but because you said you wanted to build habits that successful people have.
Yeah. And
if she asks me that question, I will not have an excuse because I'm not an excuse maker, right? Which forces me to say, shit, I made a commitment. She's going to be calling me on Friday. I better have a good answer for her because I will not be making excuses.
Right. And the thing is that we are all kind of conditioned to please people in that regard. And what I mean by that is you will work harder so that you can present yourself as your best self to someone who's holding you accountable. And so that's how the accountability thing works. It's like, if I do something really well, not only will I see it, which matters probably the most, right, is showing up for yourself, but I also get to present what I like, my best version of myself to someone else and get recognized for it. And I think that that's a driver, but also at the same time, if you fall short, is someone that can really keep pushing you forward so that you don't stop. Because many times people will stop when they fall short. And if you have someone holding you accountable, I think it makes it easier for you to keep moving forward.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to call you out on one more thing, because I've definitely been guilty of this, not you, but our listeners. I'm very visual, and I'm all about, I'm going to make a calendar. I'm going to, plan this out. I'm going to get some color-coded markers. I'm going to have a checklist every day for me to check something off so that I could hold myself accountable. And guess what? That doesn't work for me. Like, I have realized that maybe you are guilty of this too. You spend more time planning something than you do actually executing, right?
Right.
So then if that's the case, then you got to ask yourself, do I really enjoy the process of planning, but I really struggle with execution? If that's the case, you know how to plan. You know you should be creating these plans and these color-coded boards to hold yourself accountable. But deep down, you also probably know that you're not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think that helps me with work, and I think the structure of some certain things kind of will aid in that, is that I have a shared calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So anything I put in the calendar, there's the accountability because other people see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I have an appointment with someone, not only do they see it, I see it. And so it's one of those things where it holds me accountable to show up at that particular time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think even with calendar and planning, if you can get someone else involved to hold you accountable to those times and dates and whatever you're supposed to do something, I think that just helps as well.
So 3 things that we're giving you as takeaways. Number 1, ask yourself what kind of fear you're hiding behind if you're willing to uncommit and not stay true to the things that you think are going to help push you forward, the things you already know, right? So fear would be number 1. Number 2 would be lack of necessity. Like, I need for my 80-year-old Janelle to be living a good life. I need to show up in this way right now at 42 years old, right? And then number 3 is accountability.
Yeah.
You need somebody to push you. And, we have a group, it's called Momentum, and it's for storefront owners who are looking to grow and continue their business. And we've got women from all over the country in this group that are showing up every month. Why? Accountability. Why? Community. Why? You said you were going to do something and we're following up with you to see if you actually did it. Because if you did, I want to know what your results are. And the one analogy I give them all the time is you need a district manager. You just do. So here's the thing. Back to the fact that when you're younger, you try to get away from somebody bossing you around. Do you know how many people become entrepreneurs because they just don't want a boss? I'm going to tell you, you need somebody to hold you accountable.
Right.
So I want you to take your business, for example, and I want you to, or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, it may not be a business. And I want you to pretend that we're your district managers. And we're looking at this fancy scorecard that you committed to, your color-coded board of, accomplishments that you're aspiring to achieve. And we're going to come in once a week and we're going to hold your ass accountable. And guess what? This is how it works in retail. If I'm in charge of something and I have a district manager and my district manager comes in and calls me out on anything and I don't know the stats and I didn't achieve or earn the results, guess what? I get fired. I get fired. I get replaced.
Right.
So we need a little bit of that energy around, shit, I need somebody to hold me accountable. I need somebody to get a little tough with me. I need somebody to hold the mirror up in front of me in order for me to stay committed because you said a second ago, it's really important to have good integrity with yourself. I'm just going to say most people don't have that because your mind is so powerful. If you say you're going to work out, you made the charts, that's great and everything. But at the end of the day, if you have a bad day, you're just going to say, I also need to give myself grace. And, I'm just mentally, I'm exhausted.
And I'll add to that. I'll say, yes, I think accountability and having someone that can assist you, I think is so important. But I do believe wholeheartedly that at the end of the day, it comes down to you. Because if you are so reliant on the external world to be there for you, to give you what you need in order to accomplish things, you can't rely on that. There's no guarantee that the outside world, if your coach or your someone else is sick and they're going to hold you accountable and they can't be there and everything falls apart, that's not a really good solid plan. So I think for the short term, I think you need some accountability. And I think having someone that can hold you accountable, a trainer, a coach, a manager, whatever it is great. But at some point, you have to build the self-efficacy within yourself to show up for yourself and hold yourself accountable so that you can meet the demands of the world. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to rely on yourself because you can't rely on the world. The world won't give you. Look at 2020, right? It gave people unexpected things. And that's what you have to think. Like, I can't count on this all the time. For now, I can, but long term, it has to come down to me.
I agree with you. Even though this whole episode sounds like we're not agreeing, I do agree with you. But would you agree that when you haven't developed that self-efficacy, you haven't developed that amount of discipline, and your inner chatter is very weak and it's making you, succumb to your bad habits? I wholeheartedly believe that you cannot develop those skills and develop that mindset and refine your thinking and your commitment level to yourself unless you have someone show you the way.
100%. I agree.
So wow, we do agree.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Well, let's end it on that note.
Okay.
So I hope this was helpful for you. If you got anything out of this, please take 30 seconds to just write a review for us. Let us know what things you're going to be committed to. I want to see at least 50 of you say, hey, this really pushed me. And you're right. I'm going to start working on leaning into the fear. I'm going to start working on my commitments to myself. I'm going to start working on, figuring out what my why is so that way I can figure out why I don't stay committed to the things I say that I want. And also, I want you to just leave a quick comment with your review and just say, I'm going to stop being a know-it-all. Not because you're a know-it-all, but just because you probably know a lot.
You know more than you do.
Yeah. So let's be a bunch of doers.
There we go.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Push through. Thank you for listening to the Push Podcast. Hey, we want to hear from you. So if you have a question or there's a particular topic that you want us to tackle and you want us to help you push through, you got to do something for us. You got to go to Apple Podcasts and you got to leave a rating and a review. And in that review, go ahead and leave that question with your Instagram handle so that we can shout you out when we actually answer the question. And we'll talk about that on the podcast and make sure that, hey, this particular podcast is made for you. So leave a rating, leave a review, leave your handle, and until next time, push through.